Hello there, welcome to the Football Bloc. My name is Brandon. I'm joined here with Tyler.
Hello.
Today we are going to give our predictions for the 2026 Champions League semifinals. So if that sounds interesting, let's hop right into it. All right, so the 2026 Champions League semifinals are finally here. We only have 4 teams left as we get closer and closer to crowning the kings of Europe for the great year of 2026. We have 2 really cool matchups here today. I'm going to focus on one of them. Tyler's going to focus on the other one. We're going to talk about how each of these 4 teams got to this point, how they line up against their opponents, and of course, a match prediction. So if that sounds interesting, without further ado, let's hop right into the first semifinal matchup here. We have Atletico Madrid going up against Arsenal. 2 teams which aren't really in the best form right now, to be honest. 2 teams that have had very different seasons overall. Of course, if you look at Arsenal, they have the best defense in the world, in my opinion. Right now, it's not in the best state, but over the course of this whole season, these past 9 months, I think they are the strongest team, defensively speaking, under this project under Mikel Arteta that he's been building for several years now. But the problem is trophies have not come suit. Trophies have not followed suit. And it's now or never for Mikel Arteta. They are in the semifinals of this Champions League. They are also in the running for the Premier League title. It's coming down to the wire, which I think is going to be a huge disadvantage. The fact that they're trying to split their attention between these 2 tournaments here. In the Champions League in particular, up until this point, it's been extremely solid. They were top of the league phase. They didn't lose a single game. If I remember correctly, they played not the best football, but they were incredibly solid at the back. They went up against Bayer Leverkusen in the round of 16. Not a very exciting performance, but they were clearly the better team over the 2 legs. And then they went up against Sporting in the quarterfinals. Again, even worse matchup to watch. Absolutely terrible football. But they went through. They did just enough to go through. Now they are here in the semifinals against Atletico Madrid, one of the weirdest teams to watch at the moment. We all know Atletico as this stereotypically pragmatic, super defensive terror ball under Diego Simeone. But with the new owners that they have now, with all the money into this team, Diego Simeone is able to buy a lot of attacking players, and he is actually trying to switch up the style. As a result, though, the results have been very up and down, is what I'm trying to say. Some games they play phenomenal, some games they play terrible. In the Copa del Rey, for example, they obliterated Barcelona in the first leg of the semifinals there, but then they got destroyed by Barcelona in the second leg, but it wasn't enough for them to complete a comeback. They went to the final just the other week, and they somehow lost to Real Sociedad. Like I said, very up and down. They've had some good results in the Liga, some very bad results. At this point of the season, realistically, they are out of the title race. This is the only trophy that they're playing for. And even in this tournament, it's been very up and down. They didn't finish in the top 8. They had to go through the playoffs. They beat Club Brugge, but again, it was a very back and forth tie overall. Home leg, they played great. Away leg, they played terrible. Against Tottenham, they obliterated Tottenham in Madrid, but then they lost to Tottenham. And, Tottenham's overall a decent team, you would say, but not this season. This is the relegation Tottenham. Tottenham somehow pulled up with a great performance there. I will say Atletico proved their worth in the last 2 legs against Barcelona. I thought they actually played really well over the course of those 2 legs. They defended at the right times. They attacked at the right times. So it remains to be seen what version of Atletico will show up in this match against Arsenal. Personally, I think the defining factor is Arsenal seems to be focusing more. It seems to be that they value the Premier League more than this Champions League. On the flip side, as I just mentioned, this is the only trophy that Atletico is playing for. And you can never count out Diego Simeone when it comes to a Champions League knockout round. So I'm siding with Atletico. I think that their defense is very leaky, ironically so. I think they will let in a few goals. But it's not enough that Arsenal can exploit, because Arsenal's attack is not as potent as you would expect it to be. On the flip side, Atletico has an extremely potent attack. You look at Griezmann, he's balling out right now because this is his last season with Atletico Madrid. Julian Alvarez, one of the best strikers in the world. Sorloth is phenomenal off the bench. Lookman is in insane form. I'm going to side with Atletico. What do you think, Tyler?
I agree with a lot of what you just said. I also think it's going to be Atletico Madrid taking this one. Not necessarily because I think Arsenal are going to focus more on the league. I think it's going to be they're going to split their focus in the two of them, and it's going to end up hurting them in both. And just the history of Arsenal and bottling, especially the form they're on right now, it doesn't look good. The best player, I think, in form in both teams is probably Lookman right now. To me, he is the difference maker for Atletico. If they want to win, it's going to be because of him. If Arsenal wants a chance to win this, I think it's going to have to be Saka. He needs to show why a lot of Arsenal fans have him in that conversation for the best right winger. And he needs to show us something in this, in the big moments, which he hasn't yet done. And I don't have faith for him to do it.
I totally agree. I'm going to say 3-2 Atletico. I do think that they will concede some goals, as I said before, but I think they will be able to outscore Arsenal. Arsenal has a strong defense, as I said before at the beginning of this monologue, but it hasn't been as great. It has been beatable. It looked invincible at the beginning of the season, but now not so much. I think Atletico can poke some holes in there. So, final score prediction for this semifinal matchup?
I'm going to say 2-1 to Atletico.
Okay. So we both have Atletico going to the final there. But who will meet Atletico in the final?
And now I'm here to talk about the second leg, which is going to be PSG versus Bayern Munich. Just some background. PSG, for the second year in a row, did not finish in the top 8. Not that that stopped them at all last year, obviously. Their playing was against Monaco, which they comfortably won that. And then they had to play Chelsea. Again, another very comfortable win. The second leg, they got exploded and just didn't really have a chance for Chelsea to come back. And then against Liverpool, they also were able to pretty confidently knock that one down from here. While Bayern Munich, they finished second in the group stage, just behind Arsenal. In the first matchup, they had to play Atlanta, which that was a ugly game for any Atlanta or Serie A fan. And then they played Real Madrid in what was a good game. And until the late red card for Camavinga, that looked like that might have been heading to extra time. But they were able to pull back 2 goals, and what made the scoreline seem a little bit too misleading. And that's how we're here for this one. Both these are very high-powered attacking teams. Bayern Munich, Elise has been in great form. I think he's probably the best right winger on form right now. Yet PSG, they're the reigning champions for a reason, and they have the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, as well as, in my opinion, the best midfield in the world. I think it's going to be a great game. In my opinion, this is the final before the final. I think this is one people are going to be more interested in. As I said, it's going to be 2 juggernauts of offense. It's going to be a match where you don't want to have your popcorn ready and be prepared for. I think it's going to go slight edge to PSG. I think the experience with their midfield of winning it last year, they both have been doing great in the league, but Bayern already locked it down. That may hurt them just resting more of their starters or not caring. They may be on that little championship high. We'll see how that affects them, but I think PSG is going to take this in a tight matchup.
Yeah, I am. You said it already. This is going to be a blockbuster matchup. I am so excited for this game. If you just look at the forward lines for both of these teams, you have Harry Kane, Elise, and Luis Diaz for Bayern. All 3 of them are Ballon d'Or contenders. That's how great of a season each one of them individually are having, and also together. But then you just look at PSG, and then they have any number of Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Doué, Barcola. Even Gonzalo Ramos is popping up with goals. Lee Kang-in is a very talented player as well. On top of their super talented midfield, which also is very potent and scores lots of goals. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like in double digits total of goals or something like that, or almost near like 20 goals total if you add up all the goals over the course of these 2 games here. And the one of the reasons why is I think both of these teams have a slight weakness in their defense. as good as the game, as you mentioned, between Real Madrid and Bayern was, it exposed a little bit of Bayern's defense, in my opinion. They fumbled at a few moments there. Their defense is nowhere near as strong as their attack is. But the same exact thing can be said about PSG, with the exception of the game against Liverpool. In all of the other knockout rounds that PSG had, there were moments where their backup was against the wall, that they were up against the ropes, and they had to be bailed out by their superior attacking force, but then also because their opponents weren't the type that are really going to punish you. But Bayern is one of those teams. So I think it's really going to come down who can basically just outscore the opponent, which is going to make for a wonderful matchup, hopefully. I'm going to side with Bayern. I just think that you just look at the form that front three is in, and this might be a little sentimental, but it's something. There just feels something special about this Bayern team. If you just look at the narrative that they have up until this point, the fact that they've been so perfect throughout this Champions League season, with the exception of that game against Arsenal, they already wrapped up the Bundesliga title, and then that game against Real Madrid. I think that was just. It seemed cinematic, and I don't think that the movie ends here, so to say. It's definitely going to be close. I agree with you in that. I'm going to say, I don't know, something crazy. I'm going to say like 7-6 in favor of Bayern. What is your score prediction?
I do agree. I think, as what you said, I think it's going to be mainly on what defense can stem the bleeding most. I think it's going to be, I'm going to say 8-6 PSG. I think, as we've talked about, the defense, the players I need to see show something is both wingbacks, Hakimi and Numens, as well as Pacho. They need to step up. They're all some of the best in the world at their position. For the fullbacks, I'd say they're probably the best in the world. They need to show some more defense for me. And obviously, Dembele needs to be having a great game. While in the reverse for Bayern, I want to say Upamecano. The offense is going to do what the offense is going to do. You're going to be unstoppable that way. I don't think we're going to see an individual performance or Ronaldo-esque where you're going to have someone that can beat any defense. So I just want to see that defense show something.
I agree. I think, you bring up some good points. Still going to stick with Bayern here, either way. And I'm sure, you're in full agreement here that this game is going to be something to watch. This could be shaping up for one of the best semifinals we've ever seen. And also, the Arsenal-Atletico game could be very interesting as well. I'm saying the final is going to be Bayern versus Atletico. You're saying it's going to be PSG versus Atletico. Either way, that's going to be pretty cool to see. At this point, both of our teams are knocked out, so we're neutrals in this situation. But let us know if you agree or you disagree. Do you think that we're overrating Atletico and underrating Arsenal? Do you think that the PSG Bayern game is going to be a dull pair of 0-0 draws or something? You never know. Let us know all your thoughts in the comment section below. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been the Football Bloc. My name is Brandon.
I'm Tyler.
And hope you guys have a nice rest of your night.
Like and subscribe.
Yes.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-dee-ba-dee-da.